So this is the change of tenancy alpha show and tell dated the 9th of February 2021. It's going to be facilitated by the digital housing team at Redbridge and Amido. So this is our agenda. We're going to kick off with a very brief project overview and team intros, because Tom Harrison, the project director, he actually gave a quite comprehensive introduction last week. Then we'll move on to Rachel, who will cover service mapping progress and the to-be change of details. We'll then look at the progress from the design part, so that'd be Hugo and Rob. Hugo will update us on work tray, and Rob will give a snapshot of the change of details process. Then Richard will talk about usability testing recruitment. It's just to give you an overview of what to expect and invite you to participate. And then Rob will finish off with the low-code provider onboarding. So we've been selected by DLUC, so the Department of Levelling Up for Housing and Communities. Yeah, I think I got that right. They have a local digital fund project, local digital fund, and we were selected to deliver a project to help with Redbridge housing management systems. Rob, did you have anything to add to that? So I know you...
Yeah, well, I was just going to run through. First of all, Tom Loudness from DLUC is on the call. Welcome, Tom. Great to see you here. And I just thought that it's worth saying, so DLUC is funding this project, and it's worth just reminding everybody what the goal of the project is, which is that we are taking 3 sample business processes. We're going to design these processes and re-engineer how the flows work. Then we're going to implement these services on 3 different platforms. They're called low-code platforms because you don't need to be a developer to actually build kind of business processes on them. And we're going to look at some of the work we're doing around low-code later on in the presentation. So that's a reminder. That's what the whole goal is. Thank you, Tom, for funding this. And those processes are change of resident details, which we're going to hear a lot about during this presentation, sole to joint tenancy, and succession. So that's where we're going for the whole project.
Brilliant, thanks, Rob. So this is the core project team who's delivering the project. Some familiar faces. So for Redbridge Digital, we've got Richard, myself, Charlotte, and Tom. Redbridge Housing team are 2 marvellous product owners who are also senior housing officers, Karen and Jeff. And for Amido, we have Rob, Rachel, Nikki, and Hugo. And in addition to this core project team, we've got some fantastic supporting acts as well. We've got Nick, who works for IT. We've got also had support from legal as well, and also Duncan, who's another senior housing officer, and he's helping us with the product owner side as well. So that's our core project team. So I'm going to pass you over to Rachel now, who will give us an update on the surface mapping.
Hi everybody. Hi. I wanted to give you a little bit of update since the last show and tell and the progress that we've made in terms of the change of details. So we've been continuing to refine the change of details process. I don't do this in isolation. We do this with working with our wonderful UX designers, our wonderful product owners and wonderful user researchers, all gathering details, getting down to that kind of finer detail where things need to possibly change and look at how we're going to progress, making things a bit more automated. So we've done lots of analysis on the evidence that's required in terms of the change of details process. So that's looking at if you're in a civil partnership, what do you need to provide evidence to change your name, if you recently got married or if you've recently got divorced, and also kind of looking at what's the process then for if you enter a civil partnership as well, what documentation or evidence is required if you need to change your name there. So the outcome of what we've kind of achieved is we've developed a to-be process, which was agreed by the product owners on the 2nd of February, and also we've started to kickstart the joint as-is process. So Randy, could I have the next slide, please? So In terms of the change of details to be processed, what we've done is we've removed the need to update two systems at once, because we understand that you are having to go into Northgate and then go into information at work. So we kind of wanted to make that a bit more streamlined for you. We've automated notifications that get sent to tenants, which reminds tenants of, if they're a bit laxy-daisy on sending information back. That also reminds them that, it's been X amount of days, you really need to come and send your information back so we can action this for you. If we don't get any kind of responses, then we're looking at automatically closing a case after X amount of working days if we've not had a response from the tenants. And we've introduced a kind of for housing officers, which I know you will find out more about that later on from our fabulous Rob and Hugo. And we've automatically looked at uploading the documents, so you're not having to go from one system again to another system to upload those documents into the system. And we're looking at automatically viewing those documents on screen. And that's me.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
So, Hugo, work tray.
Yeah, morning everyone. So I've been working on the work tray recently, and as Rachel mentioned, it's basically a place where all the housing officers can view all the live and open cases at one time. And I'm currently sharing a screen in Figma, which is a wireframe of that work tray. And the wireframe is basically a digital mock-up and a digital drawing of what it would look like. So it's not the final edition, and it's still technically a work in progress, but it has been reviewed by the team, and the product owners have also given their okay on it. So this is what it looks like at the moment. And as you can see, there are several filters where you can filter which processes the housing officer want to see. And each kind of section is one process or one case. I just wanted to give you a quick look at what it looks like at the moment, and all the different details and fields you can see. And that's it at the moment, because we want to get some housing officer feedback on it without me telling you too much about it. So if you have any questions or any thoughts about what it looks like at the moment, and if you want to have any input, then please reach out in the chat or write down your question and remember it at the end, but pop them in the chat and we can definitely answer them. But we'd love to get some feedback on that. And yeah, and these cases will be prioritized automatically for you in the work tray. And yeah, I think that's about it for me at the moment. Please, if you have any questions, yeah, chuck them and send them my way or send them to the chat. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Hugo. I'll just put my screen back on for the presentation. Okay. Oops. Wrong screen. Sorry. This is always the perils of live. Here we go. That's better. Great. Right, so now we move on to Rob, who's going to talk about the change of resident details user journey.
Thanks, Miranda. I'm going to share my screen now just to show you what I've been working on for the last 2 weeks. So I am currently sharing the user journey around change of details. So what's change of details? It's when a resident might phone you up, phone up a housing officer and say they've got married, or they've got divorced, or they've changed their name by depol, or something like that. Or they may have just changed their email address or their phone number, something like that. So currently this is a process that you need to do in Northgate. You search for resident, or you search for the property, you open up the resident and you'll enter the details there. So when I said earlier that we're looking at 3 business processes for this whole project, change of details is the first one, and this is intended to be, we thought we'd start off small. Okay, we thought that this was a small one, And I think you can see from, I know I'm really zoomed out at the moment, but I just wanted you to see the number of screens that there are for something that sounds kind of as nominally simple as change of details. There's actually a load of complexity under here, and we always find this when we dig into the kind of guts of a business process, that there's sort of forking and different paths that you can choose. And what we're looking at here are wireframes. That's basically pictures, like stuff that we've just worked up in a design application, of each of the screens in the user journey as we move from left to right. Now I'll zoom in on a couple of these in a moment, but I'm not going to take you through the whole user journey altogether. And the reason for that is that we want to do some testing. We want to test out whether this works properly. And Richard's going to talk all about all of that right after me. And what we don't want to do is influence the outcome of those tests by giving you a good understanding or giving you a preview of like actually all the details of how things work. So we're in a kind of like odd situation, right? Because we really want your feedback, but the right medium for that feedback is actually to do the testing with Richard. So if you are interested in like having an influence really over the shape of this, then speak to Richard about it and get like when he's doing his recruitment, make sure that he knows that you're interested and he'll get you in one of his sessions. Okay, that said, I am going to zoom in, and there are actually two main flows here. The top one is change of details when you are not editing the name fields, and by name fields I'm talking about the first name, family name of the resident. If you're not editing the name fields, well, you can see if I zoom out, it's a bit simpler. If you are editing the name fields, there's a bit more complexity around it. I'm not going to dive into what that complexity is. We'll test that out. But broadly speaking, let's kind of zoom in on one page just so you can see the kind of, let's do this one actually, which is the first step in the change of tenant details page. I'm not really giving much away here. And so here this information, by the way, is just fabricated. None of this is real resident data. Nothing that you see is real resident data on any of the prototypes that we'll be looking at. And basically the page, because at this point you'd be on the phone to the resident, it sets your expectation as a housing officer for what the process is, and it allows you to set the expectations with the resident of what they can expect from the process. And there's a few little questions, and then it kicks you off on the flow. And if we see, and by the end of the flow, I'm going to zoom in here, which it also isn't giving much away, that you'll get kicked back to the property detail page, which is the page you'll have started from, with a little notification saying that those tenant details have been updated. So once we've done the testing, I will run through this with everybody on the call in more detail, and if anyone's interested, we'll do that after the testing so that we don't colour the outcome of that. And this has been like most of what I've been doing over the last 2 weeks. There's a lot of fiddly bits to work out in terms of the forking and so on. Okay, well, that's it for change of tenancy. And just as a sort of what's up next, we're going on to the next process we're looking at is sold to joint. This is what Rachel was talking about. And that's like a medium complexity business process. So I'm expecting like a lot more screens to have to come out of that. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and back to you, Miranda.
Thanks, Rob. I'm just sharing making sure I'm sharing the right screen. Cool. Can you all see that okay?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, let me pop it into the proper mode. There we go. Right, thanks for that, Rob. So Richard's now going to talk us through the usability recruitment. Oh, just to add from what Rob said, the usability testing, it's going to be done by our housing officers and customer support officers. It's for now, because we're looking at the internal part of the system. Okay, Richard.
Thanks, Miranda. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us. So with the usability recruitment, this is all based around the usability testing. So the reasons as to, well, when, who and why we're carrying out the usability testing. So in terms of when, At present, we are currently working on creating various user tasks for testing purposes around the change of tenancy processes. And next week, we will send out invites to fathom out the schedule of the housing and customer service officers to get the testing sessions booked in. And as the reasons to why we would like to conduct the usability testing, it's really to test the usability of the prototypes and to observe if there are any areas which may require further developing and designing, so that the user experience is kind of really as efficient and as intuitive as possible, and to ensure that the hypotheses from our discovery phase of the project is tested against these new designs and interactions. In terms of what to expect for those who are going to be involved with the usability testing, with the usability testing, users will be asked to carry out various tasks around the processes that they're already familiar with, and we'll analyse how the users interact with the prototypes, whether or not there are any areas which may be confusing for the users, as well as analysing the areas of the user interface which are engaged with successfully. Following on from the testing, users will then be asked a series of short questions, really just to gauge and to collect their opinions on their personal user experience and to understand any areas of the prototypes which may not have been as clear as they could be. In regards to the invitations, as mentioned, we'll be sending out initial invites early next week, and we'll hope to have a few usability sessions facilitated and in place that same week. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll pass you back over to Miranda.
Okay, thank you. So Rob's now going to give us an overview about the onboarding we've done with the low-code providers. So Rob.
Awesome, thanks Miranda. So just a reminder of what are the low-code providers? Well, we've got these 3 different platforms that we are going to implement the user journeys that we've just been looking at. And we're doing it on 3 because basically we want to see how they perform. And so we're giving the same task to all 3 of them, and then they're going to build out the user journeys, and we're going to do an assessment at the end and a point kind of following on from that. And these are the 3. And over the last week or so, I've done sessions with each of them to hand over, well, actually a lot of the things we've been talking about today, the workflow diagram stuff that Rachel's been working on, the wireframes that Hugo and I have been working on, and basically giving them a kind of a brief in as to what it is that they need to do. Gareth, I see your post in the chat there that we'll have seen. It's great to hear that you're making progress on that, and I'm definitely excited to see what you've got there. Gareth's from Rapid, the 3rd logo here, in no particular order, I should say. Rapid's a fully open source platform. It's currently in use by 9 councils, so definitely got a track record there. PlaceCube is also open source. That's in use by 10 councils. And let's see, NetCall, theirs is a proprietary platform, which means it's closed source, but that's in use by 14 local authorities. So we've got 3 contenders here, really, each of whom have got real pedigree in this domain. And I'm really interested to see, how it is that they can implement what it is that we've designed. So looking forward to that. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. Bit of handover there. These providers are coming on board, I think, fully, really, from Monday, although I guess we've been ramping up already. So we're really prepped for that with the change of details business process that I just gave you a little glimpse of, and the work tray stuff that Hugo was showing you. So that's going to all start getting implemented, and when that's there, that's when we've got something that's genuinely usable. So that's when it should start getting exciting, when these guys come back. Right, that's it. That's that bit from me, Miranda.
Okay, thank you. Right, that's the end of our show and tell. We have got a blog for the project. It's on our digitalvoice.redbridge.gov.uk site, and also we link to that from Twitter as well, so that's at LBR Digital Voice, so do give us a follow. We will be posting these slides and the recordings on the blog post at some point as well. Right, I'm going to now stop the recording. And then we'll take some questions. I'm just going to work out how to stop the recording now. Just bear with me.